Welcome to this week's episode of the Inside Kingston podcast, where experienced professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders based in Kingston upon Thames are invited on to share their story with us. I'm your host, Amyr Rocha-Lima.
This week's episode of the Inside Kingston podcast is brought to you by Holland Hahn Wills, a financial planning and wealth management firm based in Kingston upon Thames. Holland Hahn Wills specialises in retirement planning for senior professionals and successful business owners. Visit hhw-uk.com to start feeling more relaxed and confident about your financial future.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Inside Kingston podcast. I'm joined today by Nicolle Anderson. Nicolle is the Business Development Director of Business Clan, a company that helps small businesses when they don't have the time or the skills to do it themselves. What's unique about Business Clan is how it has grown into a company with 17 employees in total, mainly made up of mums who have been recruited after chats in the playground. And be sure to listen to the end, where Nicolle explains how these mums bring with them a wealth of expertise, covering a number of areas including business planning, HR, IT, social media, marketing, and more. So whether you're interested in knowing more about the benefits of offering flexible working to your team members, or would like to know more about what it takes to run a successful independent consultancy business, then I hope you enjoy this episode of the Inside Kingston podcast. Welcome, Nicolle Anderson, to the Inside Kingston podcast. Nicolle, I'm really excited about this conversation because I'm fascinated by this model that Business Clan has adopted of recruiting talented mums who want to return to work, but perhaps in a more flexible way. And I think I've told you in the past that here at Holland Hahn Wills, we have hired two very talented women in this exact position over the last 12 months. So I think that our listeners who are business owners can learn a lot about this way of thinking. But to kick off this conversation, I'd like to go back in time if that's okay. So,
yeah, of course.
Where did you grow up?
Where did I grow up? I grew up in Lancashire in a place called Polton-le-Field, which is between Blackpool and Preston. I had a lovely childhood, and I guess, we had Blackpool on our doorstep, which was fun when you wanted that kind of fun, and pretty close to Manchester and, the other northern cities if you wanted
Absolutely.
something more going on. Yeah.
And where did you go to university and what did you study?
So I went to Manchester University. I studied European Studies and Modern Languages, specialising in French. So I can speak fluent French. And I did a year out living in Rennes in Brittany, teaching as part of my degree.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. I bet you had a great time soaking up the culture over there for real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just French in theory, but France.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's just a really great experience. And I think particularly, when I was only 20, 21. So it's just great to, I lived on my own, and it's just that proper leap to independence and, being a young adult. So yeah, it was a really great year.
Oh, fantastic. And Nicolle, could you tell us a little bit about your career journey to date? So from university,
so when I graduated, I wanted to use my French. And so I just looked around for opportunities where I'd get the chance to do that. And I got a job in a company called Simply Travel, so a tour operator who are based on Chiswick High Road. And I worked on their Corsica program. So it was really lovely. Upmarket tour company. Actually, Boris Johnson was one of our clients.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I'm not going to say any more about that. It was a really fun place to work. Everyone was a linguist. Everyone specialised by destination. And we used to, get the opportunity to go out to the destinations that we worked on. So I spent a lot of time travelling around the Mediterranean, which was lovely. And we were a really good team. And then I've been there about a year probably, and they were bought by Thomson and they moved us to Kingston. That was when that was my first experience of working in Kingston. So we were in the building that Saipen are now in. I don't know if you know it, opposite.
Yes.
Yeah, opposite the station. So Simply Travel was the top floor of there. And then we became part of something called the Specialist Holidays Group. My role changed. I became a project manager, which meant I was going out, looking for new destinations, new properties to feature in our programs, and kind of broadened my destination expertise. So I looked after. Ultimately, I ended up looking after Italy and France for multiple brands across what was then became the TUI group, because TUI bought Thompson.
Yeah.
So I went from working so when we were on Chiswick High Road, it was quite small. There were probably about 100 of us. A company that was privately owned, to ended up working for, big multinational. Everyone. Just the role kind of changed, but it's really interesting to be part of kind of different companies, but within sort of the same place.
Yeah. So from the travel industry into consultancy, which brings us, of course, to Business Clan. Could you tell us a little bit about the business today?
Yeah. So basically, my friend Delia founded Business Clan 5 years ago now, when she was looking for a way to get back to work after having her son, and her son was starting school. And she wanted to use the skills that she'd built up over her 20-year career, but she wanted to be able to work locally so that she would be there at the beginning and end of the day for her son. And there are just very few opportunities that offer, particularly 5 years ago, that kind of flexible working where professional skills are required. And she didn't want to go back up to town. So she thought there must be lots of other people in a very similar position to me with different skill sets. And if we all get together, we can support business in our local area with the skills that we've had from our pre-parenting careers. She came around one day. At that time, actually, I'd taken a break from the travel industry because I couldn't really take my baby traveling with me. And so we knew each other because we'd been in the same NCT group. And I was actually teaching our boys French once a week. And she came around and she came around and told me about this idea for a business. And I thought it was brilliant. And I said I wanted to be in. And she has a tech background. And across my career in the travel industry, I did sales, kind of product management and marketing. So quite a broad skill set. And she wanted a business partner who would be able to do the business development side of things. So we went into business together. And then basically we recruited at that time from our respective school playgrounds. So we were both our boys were at different primary schools. And we just went around talking to people saying, what did you do before? And would you like to do it again locally and flexibly? And so one of the first people recruited was Lisa, who'd worked in marketing at Sony and HarperCollins. And she came on board. And Lucy, both of these people are still with us. Lucy, who'd had a background in web design, she came on board. And then we slowly built the team from there. So we have specialists kind of across the range of services that small businesses outsource. So marketers, HR consultants, accountants, bookkeepers, web designers. And we work with companies who don't have those skills in-house. Or often what happens in companies is there are 6 or 7 people working on the business. And then there's this one poor person who is meant to be doing all of the HR, all of the marketing, all of the kind of payroll. And so we particularly partner with that person in those small businesses and just provide them with the expertise that we have.
That's really good. Nicolle, could you give us some examples of the sort of work that Business Clan does for its clients?
Yes. Yeah. Well, all kinds of things. So one of our longest standing clients, we do their marketing strategy. We've built their websites for them and maintain them. We also help with, if they need credit control, with their accountants and bookkeepers. We're just providing all of that support, kind of back office support function for them.
That's really good. So I guess the best way to see how your broad range of services could work for a business is to really get in touch and describe the case study to you, really, isn't it? Because you have this clan of different expertise.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And what happens is, so I go in and talk to them first and find out what they're finding challenging. Often people come to us for one thing, say marketing, because often that's what small businesses are prepared to spend money on. But actually, they need to go back a step and look at kind of that whole business setup. And so, we start from there, and then we work out who the best person or people in the team are to support them.
And Nicolle, I want to go back slightly to how you and your business partner sort of initially started recruiting great talent from the actual sort of playgrounds of your own children's schools, because I think that's remarkable. And I think I'm right in saying that you guys have even won awards for your learning, equality and diversity policy. So
we've won. So the first one was the Team Development Award. We won in the Merton Best Business Awards. That was in 2017. And then the following year, 2018, we went on to win Employer of the Year through the Federation of Small Businesses in London. And then we went through to the national finals and we actually won there. So UK FSB Employer of the Year. Yeah.
So could you share some tips with our listeners who perhaps are business owners themselves on how you guys make flexible working work for you as a company?
Yeah. And also just to say, we're not all mums now anymore. We've broadened out the team. Yeah, so I think basically the feeling is that for flexible working to work for parents, it really needs to work for everybody, so that they appeal. Because it's not just having children isn't the only responsibility that people have in their lives. Often people have all kinds of different caring responsibilities, or they want a better work-life balance for another reason. And I think with cloud technology and mobile technology, people are able to work from wherever. So basically what we say to the team when someone starts, and we support each other all the time in this, is that we don't mind when or where you work, as long as the work gets done to deadline and to the high standards that we expect for our clients. And also there's just a lot, you just have to plan really well. So obviously there are times when people we have an office in Rains Park, and there are times when you have to be here, for company meetings or client meetings, team meetings. But we just make sure that people know when those are, that we give them a lot of advance notice. So for example, we plan our company meetings a year out. So they're in everyone's diaries. And it's just making sure we know what's happening. We know what's happening in people's lives, and accommodate that as much as we can.
That's really interesting. Nicolle, I wondered if I could also pick your brains on something else. Of course, as the business development director there of Business Client, you probably see a whole bunch of different scenarios in which your services would be useful. Can I ask you about the other side of that coin? In other words, what are some of the patterns you see in small companies that perhaps should tell them that they should seek outside support?
So I think it is knowing what you're good at, knowing what you do well, knowing what you have time to do, and then basically outsource all the rest. Because there are lots of times where people spend a huge amount of their time, say, trying to build a website. Or we meet a lot of people who say, my brother's building my website, or, whoever it is. But that person actually has a full-time job, and they're doing it on the side. And I think sometimes, you think it's an economy, but ultimately it isn't. And you need someone that you can call on regularly, who has the expertise, who will act when you need them to act, instead of, I'll update it in a month when I've got the time.
Absolutely.
So it's just knowing yourself what, the value. And also what we talk to people a lot about is having a strategy. And, you can't just, people say, they're going to, put an advert in a magazine, or they spend like a week doing their social media and do it really intensely. And then, it just drops off. So you've just got to have, we do what we call a discovery session, where we find out all about the business, what their targets are, what the goals are, and then we work out a plan for how we're going to make that happen in a time frame that they're happy with. And it's just so important. To plan and know what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to get there.
Absolutely, which speaks volumes to your actual role within Business Clan anyway, which is business development. And I've said this to you before when we've met previously. I think anyway that you are quite active on social media, but you're not only active on social media in the sense of posting an article or retweeting someone else's article. I mean, within the community. So I've seen you partner with other professionals to put on events at local venues for people to come and attend. Could you just sort of share with our listeners a little bit about your thinking for your own business development, which might be useful to them?
So I think for us, it's it's always about brand awareness and but being not just available online, but available in person as well. So it's really important that you're following, the conversation continues. If it starts online, that it continues in person. If it starts in person, that it continues online. So that you're there at all those different touch points.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And any tips for our listeners who are planning on putting on their own events locally, or even partnering with other professionals to create a bigger event where there's more than one a set of skills or expertise being showcased at an event?
Yeah, so I think, the most recent event we did in Kingston was at the Expo, and that worked really well because obviously we were partnering with, it's a Kingston Chamber event, and we ran their silent stage there, so we got to showcase all different members of our team's expertise, but also the people that were attending the event. It meant that they got half an hour snapshot of each of the services that we offer. So there were a lot of people in the audience who were just starting out in business. They were kind of at the stage where they just had an idea and they kind of got the basics for everything that they would need when setting up. That was a great opportunity. And also out of those things, other conversations happen because people talk about it afterwards, whether it be on LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever it is. And there were lots of conversations that started that day that, are still continuing now.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. So in a career journey that has spanned everything from multinational companies within the travel industry to Business Clan, which, although you service many businesses in Southwest London and London as a whole is a lot smaller, of course, than your days.
Far smaller, yeah.
What are some of the key business lessons, Nicolle, that you've learned throughout your life?
Good question. I would say take your opportunities. If somebody offers you something, you think it sounds interesting, but you're not really sure how it's going to work in practice, just say yes and work it out afterwards.
Makes a lot.
You just don't, it's just better to try, isn't it? And you always learn something. Absolutely. So what next for you and your business? Are there any projects in the pipeline that you can tell us about? We're going to be at Chessington Expo. I've just confirmed our stand there. So that's in November. I'm speaking tonight actually at Merton Council about our recent successes. So that will be interesting. And what else is happening? We're actually working on our own marketing strategy, and there might be a few changes coming up, but we'll see. And so September is really busy because a lot of people have been away over the summer. So we're very busy. As we start to wrap up, I'd like to ask you a few quick fire questions that our listeners are always interested in. So Nicolle, what do you do to relax outside of the office? I drink wine. No, I exercise. So I have two great women who help keep me healthy. One of them is Becky, who runs a company called Inspired Fitness, and we do yoga together, or we do PT training sessions. And the other is Najat, who runs Merton Health and Fitness, and she does a great fit club, which is outside, high intensity interval training for an hour. So yes, I do that to combat the wine drinking.
Fantastic. Sounds like a good combo.
Not at the same time.
Yes. Are there any books that you've recently read that you'd recommend to our listeners?
I did a lot of reading over the summer during the holidays. What favourites? So I read Middle England by Jonathan Coe, which is a fictional take on the situation the country finds itself in. So kind of how over the last 6 years, Brexit happened and the effect that it's had on families and people's circumstances. So I don't know if you've read The Rotters Club, which he wrote maybe 20 years ago.
I haven't,
the same
no.
characters from that, but kind of where they are now in their lives. And it was good read and kind of good overview of the political situation, but in a fairly light-hearted way.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I'll
good.
definitely check that out. And are there any movies or TV shows that you've recently watched that you would recommend to our listeners?
What am I watching? I don't watch a huge amount of TV, to be honest, because life is busy. My kids just wrote me into the new series of Strictly at the weekend, which has to be done. What did I watch? Killing Eve. I liked that a lot.
Finally, where can people go to find out more about you and your business?
So our website is businessclan.com, and you can find us on Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn. Always the same, always Business Clan. And actually we really like just having a conversation with people about what their business challenges are and how potentially we can help them. So feel free to give me a call. The number's on the website.
Okay, and for the benefit of our listeners, I'll make sure that I link up all those resources on the show notes.
Lovely.
Nicolle, thank you for joining us here on the Inside Kingston podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Your story.
Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of the Inside Kingston podcast. Make sure to check out our guests' website, pay them a visit, and help spread the word about what they're doing. If you have any questions or know someone who should be a guest on the show, please feel free to get in touch. I would also love it if you could go to iTunes and leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We work hard to bring on some great guests, and getting a review from you is one way to help the podcast rate well on iTunes so that others can find and enjoy the show too. Thanks for listening.